Welcome to episode 25 of the TrapHouse Podcast. We have a very special episode this week. It's very special because, in fact, it is episode 25. We're a quarter of a century old. A quarter of a century. Boy, oh boy, does that mean we're going to have some fun today. You know, I've done a lot of thinking over the past week, and what I decided to do this week was to throw away any and all ideas planned for this episode. This episode is going to be brought to you strictly on a randomness basis. There will be no outline. There will be no bullet points. There will be no trail to follow, I guess. This episode is going to be purely random. Why? Well, randomness is fun. The ability to just do on command is pretty interesting, I guess. I think, and I'll do it just to prove it. There's no better time than now. Right now. What other time is there? Right now is the most important time in my life, in your existence, and in everyone who is breathing. Every human being that is being and is now, right now, is the most important time. Well, why is it the most important time? Well, because it's now. And now is literally now. Now will be now, and now is now. Get it? Good. The difference between humans and human beings are that the human being, the human who is being, the human being, is much more in tune with the now. It appears that lately, human, just regular-ass human, is unaware of the now. And when I say they're unaware, it's pretty obvious what I'm saying. And as the TrapHouse Podcast progresses in this time that we are a part of, I'm going to change things up a little bit on this episode. And the reason why I'm changing things up, and the reason why I know that it's what I need to do, is because routine is boring. Doing the same old is just boring. And if you don't know what the word boring is, go to a library and sit there without reading any books. Boring. Go to an amusement park and sit on a bench and just look around while everybody else has fun. Boring. Go to the beach, but don't go to the beach. Boring. Walk all the way up the Empire State Building and not jump off. Boring. Buy a plane ticket and then don't get on the plane. Boring. Routine is boring. So we're going to break away from the routine today. And we're going to focus in on something that I'm not sure if my facts are correct, but again, they're all in my opinion, so I'm going to say 90% of all of you humans out there fell prey to this COVID nonsense. Now, I don't know about you, but I know for a fact that you all fell for it. What do you mean, Epiphany Chris? What do you mean, fell for it? Well, if you took some time to think, and you took some time to ponder, what's been happening in the world today? What's been happening every day, every minute, every hour? What's been happening in the world? Well, I'm going to explain it to you here today on episode 25 of the TrapHouse Podcast. Title, Not Yet Known. I'm just going to break it down. Just a little bit. We're going to pull out the saucepan today. We're just going to pull out that saucepan. We're not looking to solve world crisis issues here at the Trap House. We're just looking to boil something small down today. We're going to boil it down. Just a little saucepan. And what we're going to put into it is COVID-19. I'm just going to take COVID-19 and I'm going to set it in this little saucepan. And you know what? It's like a 8 or 10 ounce saucepan. It's not much. 8 or 10 ounces of liquid, not that much. So we're going to fill our little saucepan with this thing they called COVID-19. And I'm just going to drop it in the pan today. Well, why are you going to talk about COVID-19? COVID's gone, Epiphany Chris. COVID, what happened to COVID? Shut up, Philip. What do you mean your grandfather died of COVID-19? What do you mean? Oh, that they told you that's what he died from? The hospital said that's what he died from? Oh, Philip. And you're still sad about it? You're upset? You're angry? You're mad? You don't know what to do with all those feelings, Philip? Well, Philip, you've known me long enough to know that I don't give a fuck about your feelings. We've already had this discussion. There's no reason to interrupt while we're doing a podcast here, bro. We'll talk about it later. Also, we'll talk about whether or not you have a job after this. Just saying. So we got COVID-19 in this little saucepan. Now let's break it down from my view of point. And of course, all of you know, these are all facts, in my opinion. So from my view of point, when COVID-19 started, and I've got parentheses, I've got my fingers in the air saying when COVID-19 started. You think of that and figure it out if you'd like. When COVID-19 started, they said, there's nothing to worry about. Everybody they initially brought it up as, hey, some guy was sick with COVID-19. But how did they in fact know that it was COVID-19? That was my first question. How did they know what this disease was? So guess what they did? And when I say they, hopefully you all know who I'm talking about. Those in charge. The human that is in charge of other human. Brings you some news and says, hey, there's this deadly disease and it's called COVID-19. They already had a name for it before it was something that you should have been afraid of. But they said in the beginning, they said, don't worry. There's nothing to worry about. They already told you how it was going to all work out. They said, this is nothing. Look, this is nothing to worry about. More people die looking at their phone walking across the street than what COVID-19 is going to do to people. More people have died falling into a well and not being able to get out. More people have been attacked by wolves and devoured by one wolf than COVID-19. More people have died behind the wheel drinking and driving than COVID-19. More people have died by suicide in 1 year than COVID-19. More people die from way other worse things than what they told you. And initially they said, don't worry, COVID-19, nothing to worry about. But they had a name for it. And they had a name for it before you thought. How'd they name it? Where'd that name come from? How is it that there's a disease that we don't know how to fight, but we've got a name for it already? First thing I saw from my view of point was they started to make you question what was going on. They put a little drop in the saucepan. They took a little eyedropper. And by they, obviously, again, I'll say it, you know who the fuck I'm talking about. So all they did was take a little eyedropper and they dropped it in your saucepan. That's all the thought that they wanted you to think about that. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about. So in fact, you did not worry, right? Right. In fact, not really a big deal at the moment. Not a big deal at the moment. But once they put that little drop in the saucepan and they saw how people and human responded to that drop in the saucepan about COVID-19 not being a big deal, it's nothing to worry about, I'm sure as shit they took whatever statistical information they got from that little drop in the saucepan and they magnified it by 7 billion. And they said, you know what? We're going to touch everybody with this droplet in the saucepan. So first they say, it's not a big deal. Don't worry. Don't fucking worry about it. And what'd you people do? What did you do when you first heard about COVID-19? You know where to put your comments. You know where the dislike button is. You know where the like button is. And hey, if I'm making any sense to you, subscribe for more. But in fact, not even in my opinion this time, but in fact, when we first heard about COVID-19, they had a name for it already. So what's a name without a meaning behind it? Right? Right. So they put that droplet in the saucepan about COVID-19. Not a big deal, don't worry about it. They gauged the statistics. They gauged the statistics on how people felt about it. How do you feel? What would you do? I'm pretty sure they did a shit ton of surveys. As soon as they dropped the COVID-19 bomb, Shit, I bet Japan was hoping that they'd give a little bit of a warning before they dropped them bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. No warning. No warning. Just bomb them. Just bomb them. Now I don't know about you folks. And I've got to say folks because we're all inclusive at the TrapHouse Podcast. We don't want to leave anybody out who's confused about what their fucking gender is. You're attention-seeking whores. I'm sorry to say it, but I said it and I'll say it again. Not sorry. You're confused. But in fact, we have an issue in today's world, and the issue was, hey, don't worry about it. COVID-19, do not worry about it. Not a big deal. How long did it take them from that not a big deal to convince you to lose your job, or shut down, or wear a mask over your fucking face for 2 years? It went from not a big deal to you're all gonna fucking die. And the only way for all human to exist and live together is if you get this shot. But in fact, they had a name for it before they told you. They told you about it in the beginning. It said, don't worry about it. And not 6 months later, they got a vaccine already prepped and ready to fucking go. Something's off there. So let's break it down. Let's just look at it a little closer. Like me, you were there from the start. If you can hear this now and it's the year 2022, you've lived through COVID-19. And if you died during COVID-19, you might want to look into it a little deeper than just face value. How is it that we went from a prospering, oh my God, we're in the fucking black. We're in the black, dude. We're about to turn bright fucking green. And then all of a sudden COVID-19 comes out of fucking nowhere and destroys people's lives. Took away a good percentage of human beings' livelihoods. So, and what I mean by livelihoods is means they were living in the hood, or now they're not living in the hood. I don't really know what I'm saying, but also you took away human beings' livelihood. You took away their ability to make the money that's so important. But it's not. And in fact, we know it's not because we print more of it every day. Every day. Every day. And then we hand it out to human beings who don't fucking work. Or choose not to work because of COVID-19. COVID-19 initially was, hey, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's good. Don't worry about it. We got it under control. And then all of a sudden it's a goddamn universal problem. I'm here to say, factually, in my opinion, if in fact you bought into this, COVID-19, if you bought into it, and now you're living a life of fear and anxiety, and you're stressed out all the time, and you personally had somebody die that you knew that died from COVID-19, you might want to look up what they actually died from. Now here, at the TrapHouse Podcast, I'm going to give you facts in my opinion. And now I'm going to give you some facts. I know personally a few people who, when their relative died from COVID-19, or in fact they didn't die from COVID-19, but the hospital said, hey, look, we could write down that they died from COVID-19. And you'll get a funeral bonus. You'll get some sort of money to help with the funeral if you just say that they died from COVID-19. Those are facts, folks, not even my opinion. Those are things that people have told me personally that had happened to them and in an instance. That happened to them in an instance. Obviously, since the humans that I know are good human, they declined their offer. So let me ask again. What's the deal with COVID-19? And why is it that it was such a big deal? It's such a big deal. Oh my God, people are getting sick. People are dying. People get sick and die every fucking day. Where's the outrage over the overdose problem in the world? Where's the outrage for the people who died in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Where's the outrage for the people in Syria and the people in, some other foreign country? Because I'm sure as shit we're still sending missiles over there and just destroying and killing. And, every time we send a missile over and it destroys land or property, nobody ever thinks about that. You know how long it took to build that fucking sandcastle over there? Nobody ever thinks about that. Oh, we're at war? But do you know what war fucking is? You know the word. Oh, how crazy. But do you know what it fucking means? I mean, obviously we know what COVID-19 means. It means mass hysteria and crowd control. Gotcha, bitch. We figured out how to convince people that there's something out there that's killing them, when in fact, we're the ones killing them. Let's go beyond now. 2 years have passed since COVID-19 was nothing to worry about. 2 years later, Coachella's going on. Anybody heard of this? Has anybody heard of Coachella? If not, it is one of, if not the largest gathering of human beings on the planet today. No masks. No restrictions. No checks at the gate. No temperature control. But COVID-19, what about it? Well, what about it? Oh, Epiphany Chris, are you telling me COVID-19's over? Well, obviously it's over. It started 2 years ago. It's over now. It's over. We beat it. We all came together and did what they told us to do. And it's over now. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about the way that you speak about COVID-19? If you have personally seen somebody driving in their car with a mask on, and they are by themselves, how easy is it to convince people to do anything? Pretty soon they're going to let tightrope walkers walk without the rope. Have you thought about what you did and how you reacted or acted during the past 2 years? Have you convinced yourself that what they have said is true and everything they say is binding? In fact, more people die in car accidents in a year than COVID. In fact, more people overdose on the drugs that the hospitals give them than COVID. In fact, there are more homeless people still on the street today than how many people died from COVID-19. In fact, the grass grows. In fact, your hair keeps growing and you need to cut it. But COVID-19, and you all fucking fell for it. You fell for it. You believed it was a thing. But the hospitals and the people. Mass hysteria will stress out human beings, especially those who don't eat properly, and those who don't exercise or have anything other to do than to look at the news and be fearful. Stress. And this new word they taught you, anxiety. It'll kill a person. It will sure kill someone to believe that they will die if in fact they don't do this or do that. Not all humans are the same. Not one. We got an answer for that. So we went on a little rabbit trail there, huh? About COVID-19. I mean, facts in my opinion. You got to remember, folks, that these are just words, and I'm just saying them. You couldn't imagine a world where, in fact, everyone was themselves. Could you imagine a world like that? Can you personally imagine a place where everyone was everyone? I mean, that's considered a utopia. Almost like a fantasy island of some sorts where everybody's just ooh la la. But at the same time, we ain't fighting, so what are we gonna do? We're just gonna keep on fucking. I don't get it either. You're right, Phil. I don't get it. I'm completely lost here. There's no, I don't know how else to say it, but if you personally believe that, in fact, you will die one day, and then people will remember, that may be true for a moment in time. Now we gotta remember, time's been going on for ever. So the little blip in the radar that you produce, and then what? And why? Don't be confused, folks. Just live your life for you. But also, make sure you live it